Good evening. First of all, thank you, Scott and the team, for giving me the opportunity to prove my expertise for the role of Facebook specialist for iVelocity. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for three things. Number one, for being slightly late for sharing this video, because I have a 24-hour shift as a customer service representative, and things can get quite crazy. Secondly, I know I'm not recording my screen because I'm not able to do so, but I've tried to make sure I provide adequate information and show the entire funnel of the campaign creation. And lastly, I used to work for McDonald's and Mattel, but since I'm not on their Facebook campaign, but since I'm not, I don't have any business profile linked to my Facebook account anymore. However, I do think I will be able to provide as much adequate information, albeit if I did have a business profile linked, I could have gone a lot more in depth, but that's not a problem. Let me first try to show you what the outcome is of my talk today. So for the Facebook campaign creation, these are the outlines. So number one is the client. The client is McDonald's. I've worked on McDonald's Facebook and Instagram campaigns for many years now. So I'll be choosing their brand, and the product is the Signature Collection, which is their premium line of burgers that launched 2 or 3 years ago. The market, I'm choosing UAE, as Scott mentioned that the market does matter. So since I've worked for the UAE market, so I'll be choosing that again. The objective is conversion. Try to make sure that trying to convert as many people and make as many people from our target audience buy the product. Audience insight, just to get a little understanding of who the audience is, what are the likes, and a bit more in depth about them. This helps, especially in the optimization campaign setup level. And then, of course, the campaign setup, and then my three-pronged approach for my audience. Then the budget, the budgeting type, the bidding type. There are 4 bidding types in Facebook, so I'll mention which one I'll be selecting. Then the pixel placement, of course, if I am to do retargeting, there has to be pixel placement. And then we'll set up the campaign. So to begin with, I create an ad, I go on the ads manager. So I created a new campaign. This over here, it gives me the different type of marketing objectives. As I mentioned, I'll be choosing conversions. Conversions is usually referred to as the most difficult campaign to set up. So I will go ahead with that. So the campaign name is Signature Collection Test. Now there's something called the Create A/B Test and Campaign Budget Optimization. This is creating A/B test is very important. This is especially important when you are optimizing, whether it's the same creative but a different headline or a different call to action, or between selecting 2 different placements, whether although it may be the same asset, but if you are doing either mixed placement or automatic placement, you can test that and see what drives more results. Very important, very imperative in any Facebook campaign. Second is the campaign budget optimization. Now this was something that was implemented last year by Facebook. It helps you give authority to Facebook to manage the budgets on a campaign level and then on an ad set level based on their algorithms and machine learning. They will allocate the budget on which ad set will bring more results, Well, this sounds very good, but as a media planner on Facebook, I do not recommend this because I feel it's best to have control over your own campaigns. This comes with a little more expertise as you need. It's best that you optimize it at your level. Try to understand what is best for your client and needs, because at the end of the day, you are the one doing the campaign. So I will not be choosing that. So now we set up the some details. Account name Nurul Habib. Now we go at, this is the ad set level. Ad set is signature collection 1. And as I mentioned, the objective is conversion. So the destination is their website, and we'll optimize for conversions. Now this talks about pixels and pixel placement. I'll come to that a bit later, but let me just first start with the basics. And then now, as I mentioned about the bidding type, well, Facebook has 4 bidding types. One is the lowest cost, which is automatic, the automatic bidding type. Now this gives Facebook the authority to find the lowest cost per acquisition and reach target users accordingly. And if you don't add any sort of cost control, it will go on the automatic or the lowest cost. However, if, as I mentioned earlier, you're a media planner, you should know your campaign or your campaign setup much better than possibly Facebook, because you're the one who, I am the one who's responsible for making sure the campaign reaches its KPIs. We lower the costs, either the CPM, the clicks, or the acquisition costs as much as possible, and drive more results. So my recommendations would be bid cap. But in order to start the bid cap, you have to give an average cost per conversion. Now, due to discretionary issues, I may not reveal the actual cost per conversion of that McDonald's have, but let's just say that I'll take $25 US, although in reality it's a lot less. Now, as we can see, there are 3 types of bidding strategies. One is the cost cap. This helps Facebook. This gives Facebook, the objective to get more conversions, and it helps ensure that your cost per acquisition does not exceed more than $25. Second, the one which I recommend is bid cap. Now, bid cap gives you gives Facebook you're giving Facebook the authority that that $25 is my ceiling, and you can bid as much as possible to reach a user, to target a user, for them to convert, but it should not exceed more than $25, the bid. And so what happens is the bid usually is lower than $25, and this actually helps drive profitability, because your CPA would be lower than what you had benched at $25. So this is what I recommend, which I've done with my clients. But this is provided your assets and your creative are on point, and make sure that it really helps. It really makes sure that the user stops to look and click, and as clickable as possible. Target cost. Now, target cost is it makes sure it brings a certain consistency that throughout the campaign, that your CPA would be either 25 at $25 or plus or minus 10% uh, more than what you have bid. So it brings a certain consistency to the campaigns. However, my recommendation would be BidCap, as it gives me more, it drives more profitability. So the conversion window, I usually select 7 days after clicking or 1 day after viewing. Of course, not everyone who clicks may buy right now, but we give them some time, and we'll be charged by impression. Now there are something called dynamic creative and offers. Now dynamic creative gives Facebook the ability to choose between the best creative um, and target the users based on what assets you have. Well, that's good, and and Facebook automatically generates combinations optimized for our audience. It's good. That's a good thing. It really depends on what your objectives is. However, if your creative is strong and your assets can help um, drive sales, right, along with an effective campaign setup, then you don't necessarily need dynamic creative, according to me. Offers, if you have any sort of offers, you want to remind your users about, then definitely you can use that. Now, audience. Now, this is the most important part. Is how do you set up your audience? As I mentioned earlier, that I'll take you through the audience insights. So here it is. Um, Within the feature of the ads manager, Facebook lets you understand, has an option to find out more about who your audience is through audience insights. So I selected United Arab Emirates, and based on McDonald's general demography, they target 18 to 44, all genders, all. And I've over here I've actually selected some interests. Let me just reselect them. Let me just take you through them myself. Now it's important that you, more than the generic age and gender and location, you try to understand more in depth about who your audience are, and what. So this gives you a better understanding, especially during the campaign setup or optimization level. So based on my previous experience and understanding, or the client brief, a McDonald's user is a foodie, right? So we can target users based on food, drinks. If they probably like soft drinks with their their McDonald's burger, or cuisine. Well, it's everyone likes trying out some new cuisine, or restaurants is fast casual. So again, the options of the interests are wide. However, it's important to go a little more in depth and detail, if needed, to really come down to who your customer avatar is. Now we've understood that from based on these likes and interests, we can target around 4 million to 4.5 million people within UAE, which is well, more or less half of the population of UAE. So let's say if we were to proceed with this, we try to get some basic understanding that 71% of this audience that we've looked into are men, 29% women. Much of them are within the age bracket of 25 to 34, which is what we're actually looking at. So, and then the relationship status, education level, what are their job titles, what type of pages do they like. So number one is McDonald's. I've been working. It's good to know that the top category is McDonald's. Then you got page likes. Again, it's good to know that a brand I've worked on for many years is has a relevance of number one and a very high affinity. Um, and then the locations of course UAE, but where within UAE do you want to target your users? Dubai, and then Abu Dhabi. The activity, what type of activities, what devices are they using. So these are sort of insights that we can get to help target. And then, of course, people connected to your face, your pages. Now again, these were my ex-clients. They're not exactly some technical error that's showing. But if McDonald's was linked to my business profile, I could have added people connected to um, my profiles. I could have added them to get a little more refined um, audience insight. So now we start with, as I mentioned, the audience. Now demographic level, 18 to 44, all genders, detailed targeting in terms of interests. Now we can browse, as I mentioned, based on interest. We can food and drink, and within food and drink we can select all these users. Um, if needed, I can select, yeah, I can select all, and then hobbies and shopping, men's clothing, shoes. We have to, once we keep selecting these audiences, we have to keep make sure of, of our reach and what sort of conversions we're getting. So now potential reach is 9.4 million. Yes, with based on all what I've selected, our reach could be around 5.2 to 15,000 per day, daily results. So which is pretty healthy for a market like UAE. And sports like well, basketball, football. Uh, there's no cricket, but we could definitely add cricket here. Technology and consumer electronics, people. I mean, mobile phones, smartphones. So there is a rich audience that you can target based on the interest. It's good not. It's best not to go too niche. Um, McDonald's is a mass audience, and if you go a bit too niche, then it may be more expensive to target the audience. So you try to find a balance, not being too broad yet not being too niche. This is something that you mutually agree with, or what you recommend to the client, and then it can be a two-way conversation about this. And then you languages we can select is English based on our audience. Sorry, English and Arabic, because that's the primary two languages in the UAE. Connections, add a connection type. People who like your page, yes, we can understand if people like this page, or friends of people who like your page. This can be added as well, and then you save this. Test. This can be used for future references. Now we can use the same audience, yes, and what more we can do is add, this is the third pronged approach, which is the custom audience. This is very important. It's a custom audience helps uh, give you the sweet spot between the Facebook universe and based on your CRM data or your customer data or how people have interacted with your Facebook and Instagram profiles, um, to bring a sweet spot and try to understand where that customer audience lies and create a look-alike audience with them. So how do you do that? Well, custom audience, again, I wish there was a profile, business profile linked, so I could have gone more in detail, but let me just tell you, for example, uh, your website. If you have a sort of website, then you can target all website users in the past 30 days, and make sure that if you want to include more people, for the custom audience, you need to set up the pixel, which I'll discuss about a bit later. So this is a gold mine for on Facebook, and it is imperative that we target users based on our using custom audience as well. And once you build the custom audience, so whether it's with website, customer list, I've used a customer list as well, which is usually provided by the client. The CSV file, I upload it, and it's usually hashed, so we don't need to worry about any sort of breaching privacy. And videos, if I have certain videos and people have interacted with my videos on Instagram or Facebook, I can target users. I can target users based on who followed me on or interacted on my Facebook page or Instagram page. You have to find the right balance. As a media planner, I recommend people who interact with my website, Instagram, Facebook page, video, because videos are people people love videos, so that's important. And if you have a special customer list that you have, whether it's through your people you've targeted or the client has that customer list, we can add that. And as I mentioned, based on that, you create the lookalike audience. So the source usually is from the custom audience that you created. The location, you add UAE. Now, now this usually asks what type of look-alike audience and the percentile as well. So you can create multiple look-alike audiences, and similar to your source. You can choose between the range of 1 to 10. Now, based on best practice, it's somewhere between 6 to 7% of the lookalike audience. Now, this depends on the market, the sort of customers, and the consumers, the sort of people who've interacted with your brand, and what sort of product is it? Is it a mass product? Is it a niche product? Now, McDonald's is loved by one and all, so you can create a 6% lookalike audience, and then you can create it accordingly. Now we go to placement. Now placements, there are two placements: automatic placement and manual placement. Now with automatic placement, you can give Facebook you can empower Facebook to tell them which platform, which placement will best help target reach my consumers. However, that's not what I usually tend to do. I try to drill down as to who where I'd be targeting my customers, my audience. So yes, I would choose all 4 platforms, but again, based on my audience insights, much of my audience are on my mobile and not on the desktop. So do I need to target users on Facebook right column and waste impressions over there? Maybe not. Now, Messenger is not very famous in UAE as it may be in the US, so we don't need to target that. Or maybe you can do Messenger inbox but not Messenger stories, because that's not very famous. Again, in-stream videos, yes, people watch videos, so then we can look at that in articles. So there are an array of selections. I kind of omit Messenger stories or right column, and because we really don't need that. Again, if you feel that messenger inbox is not important, then we can remove that as well. Show more options. Then based on the devices and who's connected to Wi-Fi, we can target the audience. Then now it comes to the budget. Now there are two ways that you can target your budget, that you can place budgets. One is daily and lifetime. I prefer daily budget because that really puts, you're giving you're putting more pressure on Facebook to make sure that on a daily budget, on a daily level, they're targeting users. And what usually happens is on a daily basis, if you target audience on a daily budget, you can help, you can push towards certain days where you feel you understand that not many people convert. Let's say on a Monday people don't tend to convert, but on a Friday people tend to convert more. So I can make sure that I put my budget a bit more on one day and not on the other. So this gives me more flexibility, more power to help me optimize my campaign on my budget on how I feel I see fit. So this is my recommendation. So if the budget is daily budget could be $120, and then I set a start and end date based on what the campaign objective could be. So this ad scheduling run at any time. Delivery type is standard and not accelerated, because accelerated then Facebook tries to spend it as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Now when we come at the ad level, as mentioned, we have to choose a sort of Facebook and Instagram page. This was some technical error of an old client of mine. So you identify that and how it won't be represented in your ad. You have that, and then you choose the sort of format that you want. Or you can, and how you can create your ad. Now you can use an existing post, or you can create an ad. One may ask, what is the best way to, what's the best format? So either it's a carousel, single image, or a collection. My best practice is if it's a new product and it's a hero campaign, and there are multiple products, like the signature collection has 3 burgers. You want to emphasize on all 3 burgers initially, then yes, you go with the single image or video. Then as you target and optimize, you can then have a carousel. A carousel just gives it more it's a little more interactive. Collection is only if you have a large array of products. This is good for retailers. There's something new called the instant experience. It's optimized for, these are formats that are optimized for mobile viewing, and there are 3 types. One is the customer acquisition. This is very good, especially if you want users to convert. Storytelling is for brand awareness, sell products. These are good for retailers because it kind of creates a sort of shopping experience that you would want, and makes it look like a catalog. Media, now the media is what you add. You can add the image or video. Now these are based on what you previously used, or if you want to upload a new one. So let's say if I want to upload this. This is the signature collection creative. One best practice is making sure that the text doesn't exceed 20%. Otherwise, Facebook would reject it, and because it's best that the image has more of the creative and less of text going on, because it just makes it less attractive. And then what you do is you have to add a primary text and headline. Now this is very important. It helps you. This is your hook. It helps you target your gives that hook to your consumers. Um, Now, for some reason, it's not showing more details. Let me just include a asset that's already. For some reason, it's not showing me, you know, the call to action button. I think there's some error that's over here. But anyways, the primary text. Now, primary text would be something that you want to talk about the product. So, juiciest burgers, freshest burgers from McDonald's. Something very simple, but yet it helps capture the attention of the audience. Short headline: pure Angus beef. Again, this is something that is aligned or understood with the creative team, but it has to be something very brief yet very effective and eye-catching. And again, as I mentioned, there's some error because it's not showing me the URL. Otherwise, it usually displays the URL, the news feed description, and you can change the call to action. Because it's a conversion campaign, I would want to do buy now. And then you can view this across all the different sort of platforms that you have, Instagram feed, or just to get an idea of how your image would turn out. You can add, of course, more images needed. Let me just show. Continue. Again, you can select multiple assets within the ad, and then optimize. Once you kick off your campaign and understand more about it, then you can optimize which asset or which creative is better targeting your consumer, your audience. And then once you're done with that, you got conversion tracking. Yes, you have to place the Facebook pixel. Now, as I mentioned, this is very important because this is the gold mine. This is where you can help create the custom audience and do the retargeting. So let me give you a brief insight into how we can place the pixel. Sorry, it's taking a little time. So we go to Events Manager. So here it is. This is the Facebook pixel. You set up instructions. In order to set up the pixel, there are three ways you can use a partner integration. So whether you are integrated with, you have a partnership with Shopify or Marketo, partner Magento, or any other sort of platforms that are there, Joomla or Tag Manager, you could target partner with them. Or stop it. Another one would be you can manually add the pixel to a website. You copy this onto the clipboard, and then you test it. Again, if I had a website or if I had that, I could have shown this a bit more in detail. Or then you can just email it to developer and just give them your pixel ID and tell them, basically Facebook is spoon feeding you as to how you can further uh, install the pixels. But however, it's best to go a bit, have a more customized conversion where you can put the pixels or add where you want your what sort of event you want to track. So in what my best practice would be is when you add to cart, right, and adding another glue, and when you are on the thank you page. So whether it's domain, find location, lead, purchase, on the purchase page. So you target users on both of these on these pages. So it gives a little more insight and understanding. If someone is added to cart but didn't complete a purchase, then you retarget that. And then if someone has completed a purchase, how can you try to upsell and make sure that they come back and buy another burger from you. So these are the sort of steps that you take, and then once you're done, you confirm it. And it doesn't end with that, because that's just the beginning. Then you go into optimization once the campaign has begun, and once Facebook starts learning about the campaign, and once you start seeing results, you optimize based on the creative, what assets are there, or maybe even refresh the headlines. And it's best practice is to link the Facebook analytics to your website to get a little more detail about the user journey, the bounce rates, the active users, and what sort of a bit more insights on the demographics. And with that, you can create dashboards as well. So sadly, again, because I don't have anything linked. What I tend to do is, for the client, create a quick dashboard, sort of a bar graph and a trend showing the daily budget versus people that have converted versus the impressions, just to give an insight into how the campaign is performing. So these are the steps I would take in order to not just set up a campaign, but help build a more profitable campaign for my client. Thank you so much.